now we've made the processes page and we have the view models, we need to make the actions list on the side the available actions. And this allows us to then drag and drop from all available actions into a specific actions list for each process. Let's take a look at how we do that. So the first thing I've noticed is we actually don't have the visual here. And just before that, let me also go through a few notes that I noticed in the end of the last video in case you got stuck. So as part of the cleanup, we made the selectable list item. And the goal was to move all of the lists into this kind of selectable format. Now, one thing I did was decided to make all the functions public. So we have fetch list I've made public. And then I just figured for all the others, we might as well make them public in case they need to get consumed, like the save item had to. So you can do that, and then it exposes the relay commands effectively as the underlying functions as well. Another issue I come across was specifically, if we looked at the view model in here, the list of elements, the save model format and the save drawing format, because they're needed in the conversion on the constructors, so in these to view models, if we went to the save model as say, you'll notice the conversion here when you get the list had to use the export formats. And because we are constructing this as part of a property, we can't consume any non-static members inside of here. So in order to make the view model work, I've just made the save model formats and save drawing formats static for now. It's not the best practice, but it saves a lot of complexity for something that has no reference to really change. So static's probably okay in this instance anyway. And now obviously making sure that when we made these lists per item, that we took a look at what each constructor was doing and made sure we repeated that same step. So hence the creation of the save models having the new conversion here. So export formats has to also follow the same format as well. So when we get the list, we have to pass in the full export formats. And then when we create the items, we also have to do the conversion back. So this is just copy and pasted code from the original methods of the save models and save drawings. It's just to make sure you didn't miss that step. The same would be true, I think, for the print list. I think that was the only other one that had the same thing. So in here, the print list, you notice we had print settings. So in the create item, we fetch the print settings and we set them here. So it's just make sure you didn't forget that and accidentally not do it. So with that done, let's focus on the UI. And as I mentioned, I've noticed it's not working here and we've got an error. Object not set to reference of an instance in the onDesignTime constructor. Let's just take a look at that. So we can see the design time constructor called, that'll be it, process list. And because we changed the way process list was created, we now create it inside the constructor here. We're probably best trying to invoke, because it calls the list anyway. Let's try to invoke the constructor instead, which we can't do because this is a method call. So we can, but we'd have to, let me just take a look at where this comes from now. So view model base, it's in the constructor. If it's in design mode, we call design time constructor. I think what we'd have to do in this instance is make a new method just called initialize or something. And we'll pass in the main view model, basically all the same parameters as the constructor. We'll cut this out. So we've got a universal sort of initialize that we can run for both. And then what we'll do is invoke this. Apparently we should be doing that as well. And it wants us to specify the type for some reason, even though it's clearly fine without. So we'll just do what the IntelliSense tells us there. So now we have the initialize function. It's already called here. And now we need to try and call it here. And now in the design time constructor, we can call initialize, and then we can try and make new view models as much as we can. So it's done a new main view model, a new dialog service with nothing for the top, and a new database service. So let's see how far that gets us if we actually have a working UI, maybe even fetching the data. Yeah, so that's worked. We've fetched data. The size isn't correct though. I thought we'd already made this size relevant. No, we haven't. So if we copy, say, a size from here, there we go, it's more relevant now. And that's pulling in the actual process data. So what we need to make is this available actions list here. And what we want is we want headers as well. So we want header items and list items, but for now let's just start with a list and figure it out as we go. If we scroll down, general settings, available actions, and we want it here in between. So this is where we want the list box. We'll want the grid.row, yeah, 0, 1, 2. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want grid row 4. I think that's backwards as well. We need the auto sizing for the list, otherwise it'll grow too large, and the buttons at the bottom can be auto. Now we'll have a listbox.item template, so we can make a custom list, and this is where we can do like the headers or normal entries, and maybe a plus button as well. So I think we have to do data template first, and then let's just do a text block with content, or text rather, binding, and it should bind to, yeah, we haven't got anything to bind to at the minute actually. So let's go and do the actual binding. So we're going to need something in these properties. So we'll have an observable property, private, and it's not going to be a, is it going to be a selectable list? Not really, not in the fashion that we're thinking. So we'll just make it an observable collection. And this now needs to be an action view model. So we'll call it actions list. So now we can bind to actions list here. So item source, binding actions list. Now in here, for the actions, we can bind to the, is it job name? Yeah, so we've got a job name element there. We need to now do something with that and actually generate this actions list. And thinking about this, it can't be action, well, it can be actions list, but that's going to be difficult because when we want to inject the headers per one, and we want to sort by them, it's going to make it very difficult to dynamically, well, it's not that difficult, but we'd have to make this list very customized. So I think what we want instead is another view model specifically for the available actions. So let's just make another view model. This will give us a bit more flexibility. Call it a available action item view model, I think is a good name for it. It's going to be a view model base. It's going to be a very simple one. Class is partial. Inside of it, it will want a observable property, private, and it's going to be the action view model, and it's just going to be the action view model. So it's just going to have the action view model inside, but now we can make an observable property, private string, and we'll call it category, I think. We'll make both of them nullable because it could be, if it's going to be a category, we're going to just give this a name, and if it's going to be an action view model, it will be the action view model, or we could give both. I think we'll give it both so we know which action has, or which action is contained in a category. So I think that's what we'll do. And then thinking about it, we probably want the icon at some point. We probably won't do this for now, but let's do an icon path. And then we can have some kind of visible icon per action so we know where it comes from, like which category it's from. I think that's all we'll need for now. So let's change this now to an available action view model. And then now I think in the initialize is probably where we'll do this. So maybe before we fetch the list, yeah, we'll probably pull the items here. So what we're going to have to do is pull items for everyone. So we're going to have to say prints is database service dot get print list. And then we're going to have to now cast this. So we'll do a select to a new available action view model, and inside there we can pass in the action view model equals the actual action view model, and then dot to list. And now why is it complaining at the action view model? not a view model, it's the, well, actually it is, but this needs to be converted to a view model, otherwise it's a data model. And then we want categories, remember, so I think what we'll do is we'll set the category up as well for each item, so this can be print. Otherwise, when we come to do this for certain searches, or you want to show a category icon, it can be linked to the category. So even though the header's going to have a category, we need it per item. We're going to have to copy and paste this for each one. So this will be custom properties, and then it's going to be get custom properties, and then select, and then cast, and then to this, and then custom properties. But now we're doing, again, a bit of repetitive code here. So let's just break this out into a little helper function, I think. So this is going to be a list of available actions as the return item. And we'll say to available action, I guess. And then we want to pass in the category, so we know which one it is. And we want to pass in, I think, a list, or we're going to have to make it generic because we need to know what, or are we? Yes, we're going to have to tell it what type it is. So we'll do a T here. So I'm just thinking this through as we're typing. Haven't really planned this. This will be list. And then the T is going to have to be, like, we need to limit it because we need to call the to view model. It's going to be the action view model. And we do that, action data model. Because we want to call the to view model on the generic. So it'll make sense in a minute what I'm trying to do. We're basically just trying to move this logic inside of a helper method. That's all we're doing here. So inside of here, we want to add the items. So we'll do var return list equals new list of available actions. And then we'll do return list dot add range. And now from the list we have, we can select on that list. So this is the list we're going to pass in. And then we can call the to view model on the underlying base action data model class. So even though we're going to pass in, for example, here, the print list, which is an action print data model, the action print data model inherits the action data model. And the action data model, if we go in, has a view model. Well, the helper method is in the action view model. So it's in here. So this is going to, this is the extension method we're ultimately calling, which is all we need because we're only caring about the ID, the name and description. So that's how this bit's going to work. And then once we have the view model, we can now cast to, or could we have just done this all in one actually? Yeah, we could. So we could do new available action, do the view model casting in there like we're doing here, and set in the category action view model is this, the category is the category passed in. So that will add it all to the range and then return the list. That now allows us to replace this longer call, doing all this select over and over, repeating it. And instead we can call this helper method saying to available action. And instead we can now pass in the category and then just the specific we need. So just this. And now all the other stuff that isn't specific is in a helper method. Otherwise we're starting repeat code again. So we can delete all that. We'll pass in custom properties. So to available action. That's not a very good name either. To available action. We'll name that in a minute. So we'll probably call this to available action list. It's a bit better name. And while we're here, and now we just repeat that for each of them, like so. So it's just the exact same thing, calling into each database call to get every single item. And now what do we need to do? We need to set the available actions. The action list here. Is it called action list or available actions? Yeah, that's the wrong name really. Let's call this available actions. And maybe available actions list. Yeah, I think that. And now we can set that list here. So available actions list equals, and we need to combine all of these into a single list. So I think the most effective way is to it's an observable collection, and we've got a bunch of lists. So we need to make a new observable collection first. And then inside the observable collection, now we need to add a bunch of lists. So what we can do, you can only pass one in the constructor. So the constructor doesn't have an override for, passing multiple lists. So what we'll have to do is do .concat for concatenate and pass in the next list. Why is this IntelliSense doing crazy things over there? And then, yep, that IntelliSense has figured it out. Oh, well, it did. There we go. Oh, I was looking. I wasn't paying attention. So let's just make sure we got one of each to there. That's just one of each in the same order we've done there. So that should make an available action list and basically be a list of everything from the database. So every action. So let's just see if that's worked first. And apparently not. We have, the binding's now messed up. So now we aren't binding to the action list. It's available actions list. And this isn't job name now. It's going to have to be the action view model inside of that, and then it's job name. Because now we have the available actions with a category that we can add. And there it's populated in the design, so we know it's going to work. And this is all of the items that we see in these. So it's every one of these. Oh, have we got an error here now? Where's it broke? Design has just stopped, but hasn't told me where it stopped. Oh yeah, I just got a breakpoint. It looked like it debugged in for some reason. So yeah, all of these items are what are being shown in this process list now. It's a list of all. But the whole point of what we wanted to do here was to have categories. We'll have a checkbox here at some point to either we just show it as one big list like this with an icon or something else, or we have category headers. So let's just default it to category headers for now. This shouldn't be too hard. Now we have the view model done. So on top of this for the data template, we're going to have to make a grid now because you can only have one item inside. And what we'll have is similar to these. We'll have, an item and then a button. And then we'll obviously have a category ignoring the button completely. So we'll want a column definitions, yep. And the column definitions will just be auto for the text, then padding of 10, just in case we reach the very end, fill the remaining space, and then have auto at the end for the button. So the text block now is in grid.column0, and then we'll put a button for like an add, so a class of smaller, and we'll do success color green. Then we want the content to just be a plus. We'll have the grid.column at the start now to be 0, 1, 2, 3. So it goes in the end. So there's the end. And now we want the visibility to be tied to if it's selected or not. So is visible equals hashtag parent list box item dot is, why is that not working? Is selected. We've got to do the binding. Yes. It's dollar, isn't it? Not hash. There we go. So now when we select an item, that appears. That's slightly moving, which means the text's a little bit small. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of padding on the text. That's too much padding. Well, we'll adjust the padding in the template, I think, when we come to do the headers. But that button, notice that button's slightly off as well. Let's just fix that. So small and smaller. So it's the smaller one that isn't quite right. So let's just copy and paste the small and smaller. Put the plus in. I think the small's also slightly off. The small and the smaller. So let's go to dot small. Padding at the bottom probably wants to be a bit more. I think 3 on that one. And then the smaller is here with none. I think that one. Yes, that now centers the text a bit better. That must have been. This is the problem with the font at the minute. So some fonts don't have the font baseline being honored, basically. So that's what they've fixed there. If we compile, it should fix that plus. There we go. So we have a nice centered plus now. So the main thing here is we want to have a header. So how are we going to do this? We know we're going to need, I think, a text block in the same place. It won't need any extra padding. We're going to want the foreground to be, I don't know, active gradient, is it? I think that is the right one. So we have a bit of colour. We want it to be bold, so font weight, we'll do black. And then the text is going to be, not the action view model, it's going to be the category. So that will show there. Now, I think we want, by default, again, we'll fix all these and make them obviously work for the other mode with the checkbox when we do it. But for now, let's just make this text box is visible, binding, and we want to bind it to the category. Or actually, we want to say if there's no action view model, we know it's a category header. So we want to display the category. So you can't just do that. You're going to have to use, well, you can do that, but you're going to have to use a converter. And I believe, is it x:static? Yeah, I think it is. There are converters built in. We've got some object converters. Oh, I thought we had. Oh yeah, that's right, object converter, yeah. We'll want is null. Yeah, so if it's null, basically that will then say if the action view model is null, we'll show the category. What's that complaining about? We need another close bracket. And then what we'll need to do is on the other text, we'll have to do the exact same thing in reverse. So put this on a new line. This one we'll want to be is not null. So you don't want to show an action view model job name if there is no action view model. So that will be either a category or the text is shown. The button I don't think we care about because it's only visible when selected, and we're going to make the header not selectable. So if we've done that right, we should be able to add to, where have we gone? We should be able to add to these lists headers. So let's do it inside of this to actions here. We've got the list, so all we need to do at the start of the list is if we add another return list dot add, not add range, just add a new available actions, and if we just set only the category, so the actions is null, that can be category. So this will be add header, add items. Oh yeah, but we can put that inside. Yeah, there we go. That can be new like that. There we go, a bit cleaner. So if that's worked, we should just see headers now, I think. Or not. Oh yeah, there we go. So now we've got a print header. Oh, that's nasty. You can select it and it grows, but that should be fixed in a minute. And all the others. So let's just see what this looks like when we run it. So that looks all right. I think we don't want, I think that wants to be a little bit more collapsed because it's quite spaced out. But the main issue is this is selectable. So let's make this not selectable first. There's a point. How do you do that? ListBox. Oh, that could be a problem. ListBox item. This is a data template, item template. Can we do a style? I think we'll have to do a style. So it's going to be a ListBox dot item. It's going to be theme, isn't it? Item container theme. And that wants to be then a control theme by the looks of it. What else do we need? Setter then. Property is selectable maybe. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, hang on, it doesn't know anything about the theme. Have we got to tell it what type it is? Target type. ListBox item. Now, do we have is selectable? Is selected? No, that's if the item's selected or not. So we don't have. There's no way to not select. What are we going to do here then? It's focused. Let's see what options we've got. It'll be an is, so visible, enabled. So maybe enabled if we disable it, you can't select it. Is focused, is not settable. Is tab stop, is template focus target. And that's it. So we've only really got I guess is enabled is maybe the only option for now. So let's do is enabled, and the value is, this is where we want, what do we want here now? We need another property that says whether it's selectable. So if we go to available actions here, so we're going to have a public boolean is selectable, and that is just going to be if the action view model isn't equal to null, which is right. Apart from it's added a load of boilerplate stuff. There we go. And then every time that changes, we're going to have to just make sure we notify property changed for name of is selectable. So now we can bind to is selectable. So binding. Why isn't it binding? We've got to tell it a data type in here then. Where's it going to be? Control theme maybe? Yeah, data type in here. Remembering the syntax is always confusing. The data type is an available action, isn't it? Available action item view model. I think that's right. Now binding, there you go, is selectable. So that will mean it will be enabled if we have a view model, and it will be disabled if not. So let's see if it prevents selection at least. It's probably going to screw up. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, we've lost all. Oh yeah, that's that's completely lost all styling and hasn't worked at all. So what have we done with this control theme? We've got to do based on still and put the ListBox item back in maybe. No, it doesn't. Oh, is it binding? Static resource. There we go. So that will set the resource key. Is that going to work? Otherwise, we've just overridden the control theme and we haven't applied any style. So if you put based on the ListBox item, it's going to make sure it basically clones what it already is. Otherwise, we just lose all styling. So I think that's what we did. We basically removed all styling by mistake. There we go. Oh, that's actually worked. So that's not enabled, so you can't select. Yep, up and down bypasses it. So that works. The only thing is that if we were going to style something, put buttons or things in here, they're going to naturally take on the is disabled styling, or, you know, is not enabled, which I don't think is a problem really. Now we just need, I think, they don't quite look very headerish. I think maybe just remove a bit of the bottom border. So let's do that in here as well. Setter property, we'll do the padding. And now the problem is we want to remove the bottom border of just the headers. So I think the quickest way of doing that is going to be another property. You probably shouldn't put, I don't know, maybe we should really put padding in the view model. Maybe. It's something I'd normally do with like a value converter and say if it's, you know, if this object is null, then do one thing. If it's not, do another. But I think for simplicity, we'll just chuck in the padding here. This can be a similar thing. Basically, if the is selectable question mark. Oh, it's done a load of stuff here. That's just some completely random values. Is selectable, which will be normal, but we also want to reduce the thickness a bit. So let's put 5 in, and then this will be the header now. So for the header, I think we want everything the same again, but just keep the bottom 0. And then we'll also need to make sure we notify if that changes, we update the padding as well. And now back in here, we can bind to that padding property, hopefully. So now we have control of the padding based on if it's an action view model or a category. And then we set the, basically all we're doing is removing the bottom margin if it's a category header. And we could also do far more styling now, custom to, you know, specifically headers. Yeah, I think I prefer that. It's quite close. Maybe a little bit too close. Yeah, I think just give it a couple. Yeah, a couple of pixels. 0 is a little bit extreme. So just maybe 2. So it just gives it that little bit of closeness. Yeah, that's better. So you got, I mean, we can style that nicer, but there's some headings for now for quickness. And then we'd need, obviously, all the actions to, we need an action to, say when you click plus, you add it to this list, and we want drag and drop in after, and then this list will have the same thing. We'll want drag and drop between the lists. So we'll probably implement the plus on here first to move stuff over, and then we'll need a delete button on here like this to delete items from the actions list, and then we'll want to implement a drag and drop in here. And then once we do that, we can come back to this list and add a drag and drop that's more complex that drag and drops over to here. So I think that is okay for this control. We've made now a list box, quite simple, but we've got all of the actions in, which is what we want because we need to pick them. And we've defaulted it at the minute to just have the headers. I don't know whether we ever want to do anything different than that. I know we said we wanted a checkbox, but do you ever really want to pick? I don't think you ever really want to pick just from a list of names. I think that's perfectly honest. I think that's perfectly fine, to be honest. Maybe just the icon in each of these, like the print header, and the headers can have icons maybe, or even a background color or an underline. We can work on styling another time, but that's good enough for now. So that's it for this one, guys. I'll catch you in the next.